Hello and welcome back everybody to the Foodbuild factory, where today we're going to do something for the first time ever on this channel, and that is going to be Scrip videos. I quite like these. They're not the best quality content or anything, but I still like to watch them, and I think on my channel it could be rather interesting just because, I'm not actually looking for bloodied faster fire rate stuff or the typical stuff, as you know. So I think there could be more interesting solutions to some of the weapons we will get. Currently we do have a Purveyor sale, and just because this is the first time I'm doing this, it's already fucked up. So for this, you can obviously not know, but I recorded, done like 60 weapons or so, and completely forgot to look at the time, and basically the whole thing took me like 1.5 hours. And on my PS5 I can only record 60 minutes at the time, so the first half of the video was lost. And now the solution I'm doing here is I basically, now that everything is done, record the start of the video. I will buy 2 more weapons here from the Purveyor with this here character, just so I do have an opening, and will then edit it that way, so that after that the whole rest of the video comes that I do actually have saved at the moment. So for you it won't actually be too different, but just because if you're noticing that sometimes I'm on another character or so on, that's why. And yeah, let's get right into it. Okay, so we do have a vampire's bow with extra element damage and faster VATS crits. Now the faster VATS crits are interesting on the bow. The only bow video I've done so far was utilizing this legendary effect, but the rest here, well, vampires is a bit lost just because we're so slow firing that we won't see a noticeable effect from vampires, and limb damage is overall not a good effect in my opinion, but even more so on this weapon, just because it's firing too slow. And now it gets a bit more interesting. An Exterminator's railway rifle with better VATS crits and less VATS action point cost. Exterminators right out of the way is one of the less desirable effects, even when it comes to the situational effects. 2 that I actually do like are Troubleshooters and Mutant Slayers, just because these are enemies we encounter relatively often and they can be quite troublesome. For example, Assassins or Ghoul Slayers I don't really value at all, because while these are enemies we often fight, they typically are pretty flimsy. And when it comes to Exterminators, it's a bit of a mixed match between those 2, because it is useful when you're fighting insects, and the more interesting piece here is that Mirelurks are covered by the Exterminator's effect. So really where you see a benefit from this effect is when you're fighting Mirelurk kings or queens, because they can be quite tough enemies, and therefore you can get a good benefit from the Exterminator's effect. The downside, however, is that you barely encounter them unless you want to. They, in my opinion at least, don't seem to be all that beneficial to farm for legendaries or XP, just because they are in relatively small groups most of the time and seem to not be legendary too often. But that all being said, the first effect here isn't too interesting, but the railway rifle is a VATS weapon. I have made a video using it in with hipfire accuracy, which was a ton of fun, but definitely the most viable solution to the railway rifle is using it in an automatic fashion and in VATS. And when it comes to that, yeah, VATS crits obviously are a very good effect, getting a ton of extra damage, and overall, yeah, you can dish out a lot of crits with this weapon, so it's nice to have. When it comes to less VATS action point cost, I like it, but the thing is, the railway rifle is notoriously efficient in VATS. It takes very little AP to shoot it to begin with. So if you have a dedicated rifleman character, automatic character, commando character, you won't see a lot of benefit from less VATS cost, because in all reality you will very rarely run out of AP. So That being said, where this could be interesting is if you're fighting the Queen, Scorchbeast Queen, because you can stay in vets for even longer. Overall, it's a solid weapon. Just because it is a railway rifle, it's already good, and 2 good VATS effects on it are definitely solid. The one that's a bummer is the Exterminator's effect. Especially since there are a ton of options that would be better here. Talking Aristocrats, Junkies even, anti-armor, bloodied obviously, and most importantly quad would be crazy on this weapon. But yeah, that being said, that's it. And yep, now you will see. Then we do have an Assassin's lever action rifle with 15% VATS hit chance and +1 perception. While this seems super like mediocre, and it actually is, funnily enough it still is better than what the devs decided to make a unique legendary weapon, the Soul Survivor, which is Assassin's 25 damage while aiming, and I don't even know the last effect. It's 50 damage while aiming, damage resistance while aiming. Yeah, no, it's not a good weapon. I mean, the lever action rifle in and of itself is a good weapon, and therefore having one with 50% better VATS hit chance and 1 perception actually is a good day-to-day weapon for easier foes like ghouls and so on. But the Assassin's effect is kind of useless. I mean, nowadays it might have some use in PvP because 50% extra damage makes it so if you're going in a PvP battle, you get the same effect as you would with Aristocrats or Junkies or anything. So okay-ish, but I would be willing to bet money that not a single PvP player in this game ever uses a lever action rifle. So this could be an interesting weapon for maybe if you're a rifleman at around level 50 and you're just still trying to improve your gear a little bit. And yeah, as I said, good day-to-day weapon maybe against ghouls or so on, just because you can really reliably get headshots in, but that's about it. Then we do have a Nocturnal Fat Man with better VATS crits and braking slower, so yeah. Not a lot to say here. I mean, nowadays explosive weapons actually have relatively good condition for the most part. The Fat Man isn't a weapon that you're firing all the time, so braking slower may be nice, but not the best effect in the world. VATS crits, I always have a hard time confirming if they work on explosive weapons or not. I think they don't. And Nocturnal, we already went over this, so yeah, Nocturnal definitely not the right pick here. Okay, this is a bit more interesting, but still not crazy. We have a 2-shot ultrasonic laser pistol with 25% better damage while aiming and less VATS action point cost. Now 2-shot and less VATS cost are okay. Sadly, the weapon itself is pretty rubbish. It can be interesting. I found myself having more fun using laser rifles, pistols, and so on as semi-automatic weapons. They seem to perform a bit better, but hands down the best effect for me always has been anti-armor on these weapons. Less VATS action point cost, definitely nice. You want to use this weapon in VATS. I really tried to make a build even in custom worlds where I had access to pretty much all I could wanted, but a free aim laser rifle build just doesn't cut it for me. In VATS they can be kind of useful, but really fall short once it comes again to Scorchbeasts, Cheap Squatches, and so on. 25 damage while aiming, while not the worst effect, and on some weapons it can be quite interesting. On this occasion it's not too great because, as I said, free aiming laser weapons just doesn't seem to work out all that well, and it also contradicts our last effect, which is less VATS cost. So you're looking at a weapon that is kind of balanced to work well in VATS, but then you're having a bonus for free aiming, so that doesn't really work together. And 2-shot, while I don't usually like it too much, the main downside for me is that it actually it actually reduces your armor penetration, and since on a laser weapon you already need to find a way to live without that, meaning focusing on crits or using armor penetration perks, you can live with the two-shot effect reducing your armor penetration, and therefore, yeah, it's okay, but certainly not a good weapon. Then we do have a Hunter's Hunting Rifle. I mean, appropriately named. I always like this, but that's pretty much everything about it. Similar to the Assassin's Lever Action Rifle that we had earlier. If you are a level 50 player, get hands on this weapon. It can be nice. You want to use the weapon in VATS. It has actually very low VATS cost if you're modifying it right. So on this occasion, replenish AP could be really interesting, since if you're managing to one-shot an enemy, you're then regaining like 15 AP or whatever. This could be actually pretty close to being a forever VATS weapon, or at least really reduce your VATS AP cost to basically nothing. But then on the other side, you're already looking at a weapon that has very little AP cost, so if it's necessary is debatable. +1 perception. While it is on a weapon that maybe can make a little bit of a use out of it, I already mentioned it earlier, not the greatest effect, doesn't do a whole lot. I mean, if you now have less VATS cost on this weapon, it definitely would be interesting, but the main problem here is the hunting rifle itself. I made a few videos about it. I personally like if you use the hasty receiver, I think it is the hasty one, or hair trigger, where you can really fire way faster and reload faster, in first person only, that is, which makes the weapon way more viable in my opinion. And hunters, I mean, it works against Scorched Beast, should at least. It should work against Yao Guai and everything like that, maybe even the Sheep Squatch, but then a rifleman character already has to think of a good backup weapon to deal with these kinds of enemies, thinking about a plasma rifle with a flamer modification. This weapon, other than for role-playing and really using it as a hunter weapon if you're gathering meat, maybe, yeah, yet again, pretty disappointing. And I'll see you in a second. And we're back. I scripted every single weapon I just got, which isn't a good start. And now we do have a Juggernauts railway rifle with better VATS crits and faster movement speed while aiming. Probably the best weapon so far, but still not crazy. The railway rifle in and of itself is a very good weapon, and therefore even a non-legendary version will do you just fine if you're having the right build. Juggernauts, not the best effect here in my opinion. It may be good if you're starting off a encounter from stealth, getting a little bit of a damage boost. Since we're having a high base damage weapon, you're actually getting quite a bit of extra damage from the Juggernauts effect, but you just won't be staying hidden, meaning sooner or later you will be hit, and even if you have a very tanky character, like the first 5% of your health are lost very easily, so you're soon going to lose the benefit from Juggernauts. And yeah, as others pointed out, the interesting thing about this effect is that yeah, having the adrenal reaction mutation means that even with just a bit of loss to your health, you're actually having more benefit from that mutation than you have from the effect, from the Juggernauts effect at full health. VATS crit, certainly nice, definitely a weapon most people would use in VATS. I mean, I lately made a little build using the railway rifle in an automatic, with an automatic piston receiver outside of VATS, which was quite interesting and a lot of fun, but definitely a very niche use. So VATS crits, never a bad idea, but that's basically it about this weapon. Faster movement speed while aiming. Now, if you're making a dedicated no mutations build, which I think if you're using the railway rifle you could actually get around with, but yeah, if that's the case, you can have some interesting benefit from faster movement speed while aiming, but yeah, if you're having the speed demon mutation, you're already maxed out your movement speed and therefore not gain anything from this effect, and to be honest, pretty much everyone has this speed demon mutation, so yeah, still not a good weapon, but the best we had so far. Okay, this is a bit more interesting. We do have a bloody fixer here with the last shot effect and braking slower. So just because it is a bloodied fixer, um, it's good. It's a good weapon. This would be an interesting one, especially since it has the braking slower effect for day-to-day use. Like, if you're running a bloodied stealth commando or rifleman, you'll find that most of the encounters, talking about super mutants, ghouls, mole miners, scorched, will go down very easily with one or two shots, and you don't need faster fire rate or better VATS crits or anything. Those kind of effects only be interesting on a bloodied build once you're talking about boss fights, and if we're talking about boss fights, this weapon will not be great anymore, other than being a bloodied fixer. But for day-to-day use, it's okay, I guess. The last shot effect a little bit lost here. I mean, we do have relatively good ammo capacity, and yeah, the effect is not good. So, interesting. Okay, I'm not gonna talk a lot about this weapon here. I already said everything I had to about laser weapons, and the only thing I didn't mention earlier is that the ultrasight laser pistol is actually worse than the laser standard laser pistol. And yeah, on this occasion we have Nocturnal, which is not a good effect in my opinion. Then we do have Last Shot, which is just pretty much terrible. And you see, every time I see the Last Shot effect, I hate it a little bit more. And lastly, we do have Perception, which really starts to get on my nerves today, because I feel like this is the 10th weapon with extra Perception. So yeah. Hunter's light machine gun with, again, the Last Shot effect, which is kind of crazy. Similar to extra perception. How often did we get it now? And 50 damage resistance while aiming. So yeah, not good. Hunters, I said it. This might be interesting to fight Scorched Beast, but that's it. Last shot effect definitely 100% lost on this weapon. We have a good clip size of 75 bullets. So yeah, the chance of getting a bit extra damage is real low. 50 damage resistance while aiming. Well, this is a weapon I personally like to aim with quite a lot. 50 damage resistance just never felt worth it, because it's just giving you too little in return. Making it 250 damage resistance while aiming would make it probably interesting, but that's about it. Okay, two-shot combat shotgun with extra limb damage and reduced weight. Now, reduced weight is okay. You see we have very little weight there, but if we mod this thing out, it would probably go up to like, I guess 6-7 pounds, if that is even enough. I can see one specific use for this weapon, and that is if you have a melee build and you wanna carry a shotgun to cripple Scorched Beast wings or enemies in general. This weapon will do you very good, because you don't need to modify the weapon a lot. Just the standard stuff will do, because you're actually not trying to do any damage or anything, so you can keep it at this little weight here. Then you do have the two-shot effect, which I think on shotguns actually doubles the amount of projectiles, but even if not, an extra projectile is nice, because you use shotguns for crippling by using Enforcer, which has a chance to cripple a limb with every single hit, and every single pellet you're shooting has a chance to proc this effect, so it's very good, meaning two-shot only adds to the benefit of this. But the downside here would be that if you're running a melee build and carry a shotgun, you will most likely have very low to probably even only one perception, which you could use for one rank of concentrated fire to then target specific limbs, but you will be very imprecise. The combat shotgun in and of itself isn't a very precise weapon. You have very little range, so as you can see there, our accuracy is actually 0. So yeah. Limb damage, by the way, is completely lost here, because by the time you're crippling an enemy's limb with this weapon, just by shooting it and taking health off the limb, you will have crippled it due to Enforcer like 20 times probably. So yeah, not a Scrip weapon. And Gourmand's 50 cal yet again with last shot, which is we get last shot on even worse weapons now. 250 standard magazine size, so we will not see any benefit from the last shot effect. Basically, reduced weight is okay, but on the other side, yeah, I mean, just use bare arms if you want to. I mean, it could be interesting just to spare you using the perk points to use bare arms and just use the reduced weight modifications. On this occasion it actually could work rather fine because you only have one modification, so even using the heavy barrel you would probably be at a weight of maybe 4 pounds or something. Gourmands, in and of itself, an interesting effect. I do quite like it just because your Gourmands, the Overeater's effect on armor is pretty good, very good exactly. And yeah, if you're already trying to keep your health up, your hunger and thirst up, for your armor benefits, you will benefit from the Gourmand's effect as well. But yeah, it's just 24 extra damage. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 24% extra damage, so it won't be the greatest damage increase ever. It's okay, but you will certainly find a better weapon pretty fast. And the Mutant Slayers Pipe Revolver, faster fire rate, faster movement speed while aiming. Faster fire rate on a Pipe Revolver, actually, I do like fire rate on revolvers. In the beginning of the game, when I started playing it, I thought it was kind of lost on these kind of weapons, but I nowadays just value it higher than explosive actually, because it just tackles the main downside that the revolvers have, in my opinion. Mutant Slayers, we talked about it. It's okay if you're having a gunslinger character. It's actually not a bad idea, in my opinion, to keep some of these enemy-specific weapons around. Mutant Slayers would definitely be an interesting one here. The main question here is, would you, if you have a gunslinger character or a revolver character more precisely, if you were to encounter mutants, would you rather use a Western revolver or a 44 pistol than a pipe revolver? Probably, because the pipe revolver can be interesting. Now, I could see this being interesting as you can stealth it, you can make a rifleman weapon out of it, you can double dip. So maybe if you're double dipping and using this as a stealth weapon, you could actually use this to one-shot super mutants on a rifleman build, but I guess it will probably still not be enough. Anyways, yeah, while it is not a good weapon, I think I'm gonna keep it and maybe play around with it a little. And yeah, let's see if we can have a little bit more script on this character, otherwise we'll see on another character. Alright, and we're back. So 4 more weapons for now. Junkies, explosive, single action revolver with 250 damage resistance while reloading. So this is basically the first time that we actually get some good effects here. I mean, Junkies isn't the most desirable effect anymore because there are other effects that can give you similar or same bonuses for less debuffs. However, I still like the Junkies effect because I personally never thought that the debuffs are crazy. Like, if you're just picking the right addictions to get, the withdrawal effects shouldn't be too crazy. Explosive, never a bad idea. Gives you extra damage, and on this weapon you actually want to increase the damage quite a lot. And 250 damage resistance while reloading on this weapon actually is kind of good, because you're spending a lot of time reloading, and I mean a lot. So yeah, getting a little bit of a benefit there is nice to have. I would still definitely prefer faster reload, just because, as I said, your reload time is gonna be painful. But yeah, it will never be the best gunslinger weapon in the world, but for fun, it could be interesting to use. So definitely the most interesting weapon so far. And here we have a Mutants Vets hit chance, 50 damage resistance while aiming, Crusader pistol. Now, I do like the Crusader pistol, pretty good little weapon there. I like the style of it, I like how it feels, and it actually can be suppressed. So overall, it's a pretty nice weapon. Vets hit chance is definitely a nice effect here. even though I would prefer faster fire rate or explosive probably, but yeah, 50 VATS hit chance definitely solid here. On the other hand, we do have 50 damage resistance while aiming, which is a bit lost because this weapon loses either way. Either you use it in free aim or in VATS, and no matter what, you will lose out on one of the effects. They just counter each other out. And lastly, we do have the Mutants Effect, which also is nice, but nothing great. It tops out at 25% extra damage, as far as I remember, making it, yeah, a solid effect because pretty much every character will have a benefit from it with no considerable downside. But yeah, it's not the greatest effect. So yeah, a vampire's M79 Grenade Launcher with 25% extra damage while aiming and faster movement speed while aiming. So faster movement speed while aiming we already talked about. It's pretty much useless. 25% damage while aiming. I mean, it's okay, but in my experience I wanted to use explosive weapons, launcher type weapons, mostly in VATS. Just works out way better for me. And the vampire's effect, I mean, it can be interesting on a launcher type weapon, just because if you're fighting a horde of enemies, a lot of ghouls or anything, the vampire's effect should be procced by every single enemy that's affected by the explosion. So shooting into the center of a ghoul horde, for example, will actually give you quite a good amount of healing. But on this weapon actually you wanna have more damage. Now hands down the best effect would be 2-shot, but even anti-armor maybe instigating could be more interesting. I'm not a big fan of this weapon overall. And here we go, a Troubleshooter's VATS crit, 250 damage resistance while reloading plasma pistol. Not great, gonna be honest. Troubleshooter's one of the situational effects that I actually do like relatively much, just because troubleshooters and robots and mutants are kind of the most dangerous day-to-day enemies, in my opinion. With what I mean is, these can actually pose a threat during day-to-day combat to you. Also, there's daily ops, which include robots, so you will actually see effect use for this effect. I do like to use the plasma pistol or rifle, whatever you modify it as, in VATS. So VATS crit, certainly a nice thing to have, and damage resistance while reloading, not the best effect here. You do reload relatively often, but the reload doesn't take very long, so it's okay, I guess. So it's not the worst weapon, and if you're, I mean, the real benefit to plasma weapons is their versatility. You can use them as effective gunslinger weapons, as effective rifleman weapons, as effective automatic weapons, commando weapons that is. And lastly, if you're putting a flamer barrel mod on it, you can use it as a very high DPS rifleman option. But yeah, still, this isn't the greatest weapon. And yeah, I think we can see 2 more weapons on this character, but then we're going to switch to another one. Okay guys, here we are back again, and on my main character actually, and now we are going to see, I do have 600 Scrip at the moment, and just like with the last character, we're going to Scrip other weapons then. And yeah, let's see what we get. Hopefully we're getting a little bit of a better run this time, because yeah, not gonna lie, so far I'm pretty disappointed. Aristocrats Gatling Plasma with better VATS crits and perception. Aristocrats, good effect. I don't like it because I like shopping a lot, but people tend to like it regardless. 50% extra damage at 30k caps or higher. Now, if you're not on a character that's going for a shopping trip every now and then, it's definitely a good effect. But that's all about this weapon, because yeah, we're talking about a person here that actually tries to make VATS heavy gunners quite often compared to the rest of the player base, and even I would not use the Gatling Plasma as a VATS weapon, so VATS crits are lost here, and Perception is as well. This is interesting. We do have an anti-armor Gauss shotgun with replenishing action points on each kill, inertial I think it is called, and 250 damage resistance while reloading. So the Gauss shotgun, good weapon in and of itself. Anti-armor, in my opinion, the best effect on shotguns, unless you wanna be tanky and use vampires or the medics effect. But for damage, yeah, I think anti-armor is the best one. On a Gauss shotgun you could actually get a little bit more out of a two-shot effect probably, but yeah, I actually wanted an anti-armor Gauss shotgun, and yeah, replenishing action points with each kill is okay. It's not going to make you use this forever in VATS, but it definitely helps. So basically the anti-armor effect here is what I'm looking for. Kind of okay with this weapon. Okay, anti-armor 25 damage while aiming and 50 damage resistance while aiming assault rifle. Now, while this isn't the greatest weapon in the world, it actually is quite fitting because all of the effects are beneficial. That's it. Anti-armor, always a good pick. Probably rifle or commando weapons are some of them who can get away without the extra armor penetration, just because you do have the tank killer perk and perforating magazines, but it still doesn't hurt to have it. Still should be a considerable damage buff. Then we do have 25 damage while aiming, and while I would use this weapon mostly in VATS, I actually made a video using it as a rifleman outside of VATS, and I had a lot of fun with it. It has very little recoil. The weapon can be handled very easily. You can modify it into every situation. You can use it for close range combat. You can use it as a sniper weapon for very far ranges. So this is an interesting weapon. I would actually consider making a video about it if I wouldn't have done so already. The one I was using was a furious faster fire rate version, and the way I used it, I would actually have preferred this weapon here. But yeah, a Gourmand's faster fire rate, faster movement speed while aiming Tesla rifle. Now the Tesla rifle, good weapon. As you will probably have noticed, I am actually using one on this character at the moment. We're going to use it in VATS though. It's an anti-armor VATS crit, no, anti-armor inertial VATS VATS cost version. Probably one of the next builds I upload, so keep an eye out for that. And when it comes to this here weapon, faster fire rate is nice on Tesla rifles. I personally don't like it too much, just because it kind of triggers this effect where if you just spam the weapon, you often reload with 10 or 5 shots in your magazine, which it's kind of hard to verify if it is a visual glitch or so, but anyways. Shouldn't be a bad effect. Faster fire rate is definitely nice to have. Gourmands, I talked about it earlier when we had the 50 cal. It's a nice effect, and since the Tesla rifle isn't a stealth weapon, you could actually see yourself using a Overeater's armor set, being a bit more of a tanky character, and therefore already having your food and water situation under control, and therefore getting the benefits from Gourmands. Now, the problem stands that the effect doesn't give you too much of a benefit. It's just 24 or 25% extra damage, so it won't be the world of a difference, but it's solid. It's a solid weapon. Faster movement speed while aiming, as we already talked about, is lost. We don't really use that or get any benefit from it if we have the speed demon mutation, but yeah, it's okay. Then we have a double barrel shotgun, a Mutants one to be more precise, with better VATS hit chance and perception. So you do know probably that I do like the double barrel shotgun a lot. It's actually my favorite shotgun, not because it's the most effective one, but I just find it overall, it is effective. I have a lot of fun. I feel like a shotgunner using it, but yeah, anyways. This one is okay. If you're starting a shotgunner character and you just reached level 45, this is a good option. VATS hit chance is nice. You should always consider using shotguns in VATS. You can get around using them outside of VATS, but you'll definitely need way more ammunition, and it's definitely a harder playstyle than using them in VATS. If you use them in VATS, 50% VATS hit chance is very, very beneficial here, just because on a shotgunner character you will firstly have a hard time baking a lot of perception into your build and justifying it. So therefore having VATS hit chance is a very beneficial perk here. The one extra perception falls under the same category, but the difference between those is like crazy high. The benefit you get from 50% VATS hit chance will outweigh your extra perception by 100 probably. And lastly, yeah, we do have the Mutants Effect. I already talked about it. It's nice. It's okay. No debuff or anything other than having to have mutations, but you will easily have 5 mutations. No doubt you will run around with 5 mutations, especially on a shotgunner. There are a few that can actually benefit you quite well, and so it's just a free damage buff basically, 25% extra. It's okay. Yet again, it's a bit lost because it's not the world, but it's not a bad weapon. Now basically everything I just said about the weapon falls under this character category here again. It's getting VATS crits, 250 damage resistance while reloading, double barrel shotgun. Instigating is nice on this weapon because you're actually trying to one-shot a lot of the enemies. VATS crits, definitely helpful. You can easily get a lot of VATS crits with just the Fall Leaf Clover perk on shotgunners. Actually one of my favorite playstyles, a VATS shotgunner with low intelligence, low luck investment, using only the Fall Leaf Clover perk. 250 damage resistance while reloading. While the reload on this weapon isn't too long, yeah, there's hardly any weapon that reloads more. I mean, there are, talking about harpoon guns and so on, but yeah, you will definitely see the 250 damage resistance while reloading actually give you a benefit. You're loud and proud, you're not going to make a stealth character, so having more damage resistance is nice to have on this character. Sorry, this hyper... I don't know what to say. Anyways, yeah. It's a solid weapon, not the best one in the world, but one I would actually enjoy using, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, definitely relatively happy with this weapon. Okay, I thought we did get the exact same weapon, but it was quite different. It was just a Nocturnal Fat Man. Bashing damage is bashing damage, and reduced weight, okay. I mean, reduced weight on a Fat Man is okay. Bashing damage is not okay, and Nocturnal is also not okay, so let's move on. A Medic's Hellfire Hellstorm Missile Launcher. So this is interesting. I actually had a Medic's Missile Launcher, Hellstorm Missile Launcher before. I tried to make a Medic's build with it. It just wasn't satisfying. The Hellstorm Missile Launcher is a bit of a waste in my opinion, because it's such a cool idea, but suffers greatly from all the missile launcher problems. It's one of those launchers that still has terrible condition, so it breaks very fast. Even if you use Gunsmith and Luck of the Draw, you're hardly going to make a run of White Spring and Westtech before having to repair it. The Medic's Effect doesn't work too great on it. Very stock standard here, and especially since we don't have any other legendary effects benefiting us in VATS. I mean, +1 agility means 5 more action points, so maybe, or 10 more, so you could argue that helps, but it doesn't. And the last shot effect, I mean, we only have 4 shots. I mean, I think there's a barrel that gives you more, but so yeah, you could in theory see relatively good use out of the last shot effect, but on the other hand, I'm pretty sure it doesn't work in VATS for some reason, so yeah, this is Scrip. A Vampire's 25 damage while aiming and stealth field handmade, and it's solid, but more than being solid, it's actually something I was really looking for. I wanted to have a good automatic rifle with the ghost effect, because that's I think I even mentioned it in the beginning of the video. I have an idea for it. Basically, the idea is using a chameleon power armor set with this weapon, because I tried a chameleon power armor stealth character, which works kind of, but not good enough, and you're still getting detected every now and then. Now, my theory is that the ghost effect can bring you back into caution for a little while, and if that's the case, you could use the character as a run gun type of character, but if you're fighting tougher enemies, you can just go into crouch mode and use this weapon, meaning that you're, without standing up and crouching again, you will always have a flickering stealth field, and therefore get some benefits from follow through and so on. It's a bit hard to explain, I have to work on it, but yeah, this weapon would actually work quite well. 25 damage while aiming would be interesting, because I want to avoid using that, just because we are in power armor on that character that I imagine. So yeah, that's a nice effect, and vampires is also a good effect on the handmade. Not the best one, but it will definitely help us survive. Juggernauts, bashing damage, yet again. Ghosts, Radium rifle. Yeah, Juggernauts is okay, as I mentioned. This can be a stealth weapon. Actually, I would argue it's a good idea to use it in stealth, so I would not complain about Juggernauts here. Bashing damage, however, is lost, and as I said, stealth, the ghost effect, probably has its use. I just haven't found it yet. I have, as I said, some theories, but let's see. Overall, this isn't the greatest weapon in the world, I would say. Then we do have a Suppressor's Ultrasight Gatling Laser with replenishing AP on each kill, and VETS crits meter filling faster. Now, earlier I mentioned that I don't like suppressors, but if I would like, I would enjoy it. I probably do it on a heavy weapon that can carry itself with space damage, which the Ultrasight Gatling Laser actually does. It's a pretty good weapon, like it a lot. Replenishing action points on each kill. While it seems lost because we're not using this weapon in VETS, it could be interesting just for keeping yourself up on action points to use with dodgy, so which would line in relatively well with the suppressors effect. But yeah, VETS crits filling faster, absolutely useless here. Overall, I don't rate this a good weapon. It could be kind of interesting, but in a very niche sense. And a Hunter's 25 damage while aiming, 50 damage resistance while aiming M79 Grenade Launcher. As I mentioned earlier, this is a weapon I would definitely want to use in VETS. So 25 damage while aiming isn't too great. Hunters, kind of interesting, because this could be a good backup weapon to fight Scorched Beast with. It's relatively lightweight, 7.2. I mean, we would probably want to put the longer barrel on it, making it probably something like 8 or 9 pounds. But yeah, the Hunter's effect, giving you a benefit against Scorched Beast, would be interesting, because if you're running a gunslinger or a rifleman character, there's a chance you already have Demo Expert maxed out, which would be everything to get the most out of this weapon here. I mean, faster reload would be nice to have, or so on, but yeah, this could be interesting to use against tougher enemies like Sheep Squatches and Scorched Beast on a rifleman character, shotgunner character, so on. Sadly, yeah, as I said, 25 damage while aiming is a bit lost, and therefore damage resistance while aiming as well. You would want to use this one in VETS probably. It would still be beneficial and work out relatively well, I guess. But yeah, perfect world, I would probably like this to see as a 50, if we stick with Hunters, with better VETS hit chance and faster reload maybe. But yeah, it's not a good weapon in and of itself. And yeah, I'll be back in a second. And we're back. A fixer. It's a furious fixer with limb damage and faster reload, so overall this is a pretty solid pick. I used a furious fixer for quite a while. I mean, it's a while back. Fixer is in and of itself a very good weapon, and if you're using it as a commando or even if you're using it as a rifleman weapon, you still want to use quite a few shots on tougher targets. So while you wouldn't see a big benefit of the furious effect on most of your gameplay, talking about ghouls, super mutants and so on, you will probably take them down in 1, 2, maybe 3 shots. But it's interesting because when you need it the most, the effect will benefit you. Talking about, as I said earlier, sheep squatches, scorch beasts, super mutant behemoths and so on, you will definitely see a good benefit out of the furious effect. It's not the most liked effect just because, as I said, you oftentimes don't see any benefit from it. I never really cared. It's one of my favorite effects actually because I think it's very well balanced. It's the epitome of how I think things should be balanced. Just because, yeah, it does give you a very good benefit, but you have to invest into it, not in a sense of investing into it with perks and so on, but you actually have to shoot an enemy a lot of times. But as I said, the tougher targets where you actually need help, you will see help from this weapon, from this effect, while it won't be overpowered on day-to-day basis. Faster reload, definitely nice here, always a good pick. The fixer is a very VATS efficient weapon, so you are not relying on stuff like less VATS cost, and therefore, yeah, you do have room for faster reload. Definitely not a bad pick here. And limb damage, I mean, I don't like limb damage, to be honest, but it's okay, I guess. So, yeah, not a lot to say here, but this is definitely a good weapon. Solid. Then we do have an Executioner's Radium Rifle with the last shot effect and braking slower. Now I actually played around a little bit with an Executioner's VATS crits less VATS cost version of this weapon lately, and I had a lot of fun with it. I do actually like the Radium Rifle a lot. Like the aesthetic, the sound design and everything about it. But on this occasion, yeah, Executioners is good. But the last shot effect, yeah, I don't value too highly. You want to use this weapon most likely in VATS, so it probably won't work anyways. And even if it does, it doesn't give you the greatest benefit. And braking slower is nice to have, but the weapon isn't one where I say condition is a problem. It's not the best weapon when it comes to condition, but not the worst either. So having the effect braking 50% slower is nice to have, but definitely the opportunity cost here is a bit high. There are a few other effects I would see more happily, like faster reload, less VATS cost. You get the point. And then we do have a Zealots explosive, faster movement speed while aiming combat rifle. I was tempted to say that, oh wow, we have the first explosive weapon here, but that's not the case. I'm pretty sure, yeah, the single action revolver was explosive, but yeah. This weapon could be interesting in that it has a Zealots effect, and well, that doesn't sound too crazy. I actually think especially casual players tend to overlook the possibility of the Zealots effect, because what you can do is, on this weapon especially, you can put a Scorched Killer receiver on it and keep it with you while it is a bit heavy. You can keep it with you to really make easy work of Scorched Beast. But that's it. The explosive effect won't help you a ton here, so better VATS crits or VATS hit chance would be nicer, maybe even fire rate. But still, it's not a bad weapon. It's just not too good either. So what I could see this being useful for is, yeah, as a backup weapon for a rifleman character or so to deal with Scorched Beast. Period. just because it has the Zealots effect. The explosive, as I said, won't give you too much of a benefit there, and faster movement speed while aiming is trash, as I said earlier, so yeah. And here we have a Nocturnal Explosive Combat Shotgun with reduced weight. Now, the only benefit I see here is that I can possibly sell it when it comes to shotguns. The only ones that do tend to sell okay are the combat shotguns. I mean, they are the best shotguns overall. Maybe if you're not factoring in the not tradable Gauss shotgun. And yeah, some people actually tend to pay a little bit for Nocturnal nowadays. I don't like it, but an explosive shotgun is always fun while not being the most powerful stuff. Reduced weight is also okay. So yeah, not a lot to say here, but it is a nice weapon. I mean, probably. Here we do have another Gauss shotgun, but this time around it's not the best in the world. Mutant Slayers, VATS hit chance, agility. I like to use this weapon in VATS, so VATS hit chance is definitely nice to have. Extra agility, it's never useless, but never useful either, so that's just there, I guess. And Mutant Slayers, we talked about it. For certain daily ops, for farming West Tech, this could be very interesting. On shotguns, you can reduce the weight quite significantly with a perk that you want to have either way, probably just for the reload speed, which is I shouldn't have started this sentence with it is because I don't remember. But yeah, it's okay. And here we do have a Zealots Black Powder Rifle with 15% VATS hit chance and 250 damage resistance while reloading. So it's an interesting weapon. For 50% VATS hit chance is a very good effect for the Black Powder Rifle because you're not getting a lot of shots, you're taking a lot of time to reload. So if you're ready, you really want to make sure your shot hits, which yeah means you get a lot of use out of the VATS hit chance effect. 250 damage resistance while reloading similarly does help because yeah, you're spending a lot of time reloading this weapon. The thing is though, most likely you will use a Black Powder Rifle not as a day-to-day weapon, meaning you're just using it to open a fight and then switch to another weapon, so damage resistance while reloading maybe not be as useful again. And Zealots, I mean, it's a bit odd because I just said that Zealots can be a good effect and for backup weapon and blah blah, but it won't be enough on this weapon to actually be viable against Scorched Beast, because you don't have a modification for it to double down on it, and while you can do relatively good damage to a Scorched Beast, that's basically it. Now, the only way to see this as a viable option against Scorched Beast is maybe you've seen my Powder Demon, I think it was called Powder Demon character, where I was using a Black Powder Rifle, and if you're just spamming the shoot button while reloading the weapon while already in VATS, yeah, you can often get 2 to 3 to maybe even 4 shots out of the weapon with a single reload. And if you get one such trigger, you can probably kill a Scorched Beast pretty fast. I got to test this, see if this weapon is a good idea for it, but yeah, that's basically it. And yeah, I'm going to script some stuff and then we're back here in a second. Okay guys, 4 more weapons. A Zealots faster fire rate and less VATS cost. Action, lever action rifle. So the Purveyor really likes the Zealots effect at the moment. Faster fire rate I actually quite like on a lever action rifle. Less VATS cost is always nice, but overall I don't rate this weapon too highly. I mean, it won't be a bad weapon for a rifleman build just because the lever action rifle in and of itself is nice. You probably use it in VATS, and shooting a bit faster can be very interesting, especially for fighting enemies that take more than 1 or 2 shots. But the main thing holding you back here will be the reload probably, so and not the fire rate. So yeah, while fire rate is interesting, It won't be the biggest increase in damage overall, and yeah, Zealots, I think we now heard enough about Zealots, right? Not sure if there is a Scorched Killer receiver for the lever action rifle. Um, I, I really don't know. Anyways. Anti-armor, replenish AP, vets crits faster, pipe revolver. It's an interesting weapon. The vets crits filling faster means you can get relatively easy a crit on every second shot on a full health character, which is something that doesn't sound too crazy, but is actually nothing to cough at. It's a pretty good thing. Anti-armor, very good for a pipe revolver. Do quite like it. You can double dip the weapon, meaning that it can be possibly a quite effective rifleman weapon, but even as a gunslinger weapon I do like it just because it can be suppressed, which is kinda cool. And replenishing action points is interesting. The weapon doesn't need a whole lot of AP, so I probably keep this weapon and fiddle around with it a little bit. Could be quite interesting and quite powerful. Yeah. Then we do have a Vampire's Short Plasma Pistol, 25 damage while aiming, and vets crits filling faster. So Vampires can be very good if you're turning this into a Flamer, which makes you basically immortal. The only downside is yeah, your ammo consumption is crazy and the weapon's condition goes down pretty fast. 25 damage while aiming, not the most interesting thing here. Now, if you turn this into a Flamer, you can definitely, you do have the DPS and the survivability to use this outside of that, no problem. You're just going to need even more ammo in my opinion, so I'm not sure if 25 damage while aiming is the most interesting effect here. And it contradicts with our last effect, meaning vets crits filling faster, just talked about it, 23 luck, critical savvy, and this effect mean you can use a crit on every second shot. Interesting weapon, but not a god roll by any means. And here we do have an Assassin's Explosive Submachine Gun with the Ghost effect. We talked about Ghost a lot before. Explosive, definitely interesting here just because it gives you a little bit of these spray and pray vibes from Fallout 4, but that's basically it. It's neither bad nor good. I mean, it's good, but yeah, it's okay. And really the thing that trashes this weapon here is the Assassin's effect. It's just useless, in my opinion. Now, maybe, and this is really a shot in the dark here, the Ghost effect could be interesting for PvP, just because if you're getting it to trigger a lot, it means you don't need stealth boys or chameleon gear or the Chinese stealth armor in order to avoid being vetsed. And even if an enemy vets locks you, once that effect activates, it breaks his vets. So maybe that's interesting for PvP, but then I think you wouldn't use the submachine gun. It just has too little damage output. On the other side, it does have quite a good magazine size and a armor penetrating receiver, which could be interesting. I mean, explosive is for a long time not a good effect for PvP just because it can be countered so easily, but yeah, I think it's trash. And I think at this point we're going to stop the video here. I could get a few more, like 2 to 3 more weapons by scrapping again, but I think the video is already long enough, and I hope you enjoyed this, guys. And basically the most interesting thing for me would be if there is any weapon you saw during the video that you would like to see a build around, just message me, or not message, just leave a comment. I'm still a very small channel, so I usually keep track of every single comment that's made, very rarely that I overlook one, so there's a good chance I would actually make that kind of video. The only thing is I did scrap a lot of these weapons, but I think, yeah, just I scrapped those that obviously are trash, like a Nocturnal Fat Man, for example. So if there's a weapon you may be interested to see a build around, there's a good chance I haven't scripted. And even if not, I may consider recreating it in custom worlds. So hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and see you next time. Bye.